what I've noticed in not just female friendships, men do this as well, but when there hasn't been enough practice and training around confrontation being positive and proactive, if you're like, oh gosh, if I bring this up, it's going to be a fight. In my maybe like the way that you grew up that was walking on eggshells, or maybe it was if you said anything that pushed back, there was an explosion, or maybe you weren't encouraged to speak up ever, right? So that might be someone's situation. So if they don't train their nervous system that having uncomfortable conversations is one, safe, and two, worth it, they'll just avoid and avoid and avoid. And eventually, probably, they just won't be able to stand it anymore. They'll cut that person off, and the
Mhm,
person won't even know what they did wrong. And they'll be
mhm.
like, whoa, like that was my best friend and she doesn't even talk to me anymore. Another person's like, she knows what she did. She canceled and they're like, oh, was that not cool? Why didn't you tell me? Like,
Mhm,
so the level of confrontation, proactive confrontation that we're willing to have really equals the level of intimacy that we're going to have with other people.
mhm.
And this notion that everything should be perfect or we or it ends because it's not perfect, it ends because we're tolerating. It's just outdated, and I would propose that we can all do better.
Hey, Elizabeth, I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to the Awaken Heart podcast.
I'm so happy to be here, Nancy.
I'm so happy you look fabulous. I was saying that before we hit record. You're super stylish and adorable, and I can't wait to dive into this conversation. You've
Mhm.
been doing this work for over 20 years.
Yeah.
You're a priestess, the practical priestess, and you've been helping women, leaders, and creatives reset their lives and come back into their own power. And now with your book, Made for Magic, I was just saying how much I love the vibe of this whole book. It's so
Mhm.
cool. And I just got it yesterday and I dove into it last night and I'm loving it. That's what I'm doing tonight as well. So with Made for Magic, you're giving people a practical path out of survival mode and back into soul satisfying joy.
That's right.
Now, one of the things I love about your approach is how grounded it is. And you bring language, tools, and real framework that people can use right away, especially around the hidden contracts that shape our relationships. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I would love to hear before we really unpack a lot of things and dive into the meat and bones of this conversation. I would love to hear where you were before and what led you into doing the work that you do now. I mean, you've been doing it a long time
Mhm.
already. You don't look very old yourself, so you must have found this path pretty early on.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I started in my early 20s in the
Hmm.
self-development industry, and before that, I thought that I wanted to be a filmmaker, and then
Uh,
I realized because I was interested in human behavior. I wanted to tell stories, and that seemed like a great way to affect change was to tell epic stories. I was like, I want to be a filmmaker. And then I started in film school and realized that it was actually really an introverted career and that you had to be obsessed with the editing
oh,
process
yeah.
and look at the editing over and over again. And I was like, just kidding. So around that time, the self-development industry really found me. I found myself in a self-development class, and then quickly they were like, this woman, this little young woman can speak and facilitate. And there was a natural ability there. So I was trained really in the trenches of the self-development world and then trained to coach at a very early age and then started my own thing. Gosh, I think I was 24 and I
Uh-huh.
started my own company and began working with female founders, executives, women in very high performing jobs who a lot of them were asking the same questions that the book addresses now, like, is this it? I've done all of these things that I thought would fulfill me. I have the success, I'm making the money, I'm checking the boxes of what I thought being a good woman would be. And yet I'm feeling some level of emptiness, either like a subtle emptiness or an extreme emptiness was disturbing for them. So I started answering those questions with them. And at first, there was almost a bit of a mismatch because I was 24 and a lot of them were like 45. So a lot of like, I now am in my 40s and I would never hire a 24-year-old coach, like never in a million years. So I don't know how that quite worked out for me so well. But I think at that time, they were sort of like borrowing some of my hope and life force while we were creating solutions. And now it's different. Like, I still think that I'm overflowing hope and life force onto people, but it's from a different place because now I've
Mhm.
like walked the walk of life, right?
Mm. So when you did start this, were you still living in Los Angeles at the time?
I was in New York.
You were
Yeah,
in New York.
Manhattan.
Okay. So did you start in LA and then go to New York, or New York into LA and now into Austin?
I was in New York for 16 years. That's where
Okay.
most of
Oh,
my adult life and career was.
okay.
Only in Los Angeles for just a blip of time, um, about a year and a half.
Okay, got it. Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the film industry, and I was thinking like you were young
Yes.
out there and really putting a foot in the Hollywood type of clientele.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of people out there that the industry is tough. I was in it myself, and that you were able to find success and get your footing at such a young age. And it seems like New York would be even a harder place to do that because it's such a different mentality. How
Yeah.
did you get your start? What kind of clients were you? How were you able to tap into becoming so successful at a young age and getting the clients to really take you seriously because you're so young?
That's a great question. And at that time, the coaching industry was in its infancy. Right? So right now, you throw a rock and there's a coach. Like the Uber driver's a coach, the
Yeah.
librarian's a coach. They're like, "I'm a coach too." And I'm like, "Okay." So the industry's now flooded with people who are wanting to mentor other people. At the time when I hit the market, it was not normal to be a coach. There was like maybe in New York City, I could name like 4 and I knew all of them. So for people that wanted support beyond therapy, it was a new thing. Like I was a trailblazer in the industry. So I
Mhm.
think there were a lot of people that were like, gosh, I've had a therapist for years. I feel at this sort of plateau with how
Yes.
far I can go in therapy. Like I want this little energetic woman to like my ass have her way with me. And also, I had the certainty. I don't honestly really even know where I got the chutzpah to throw my hat in the ring in that way, but I'll just tell you it worked. And I don't know exactly how I built credibility. I just had it and it worked off of referrals for years. Like,
Oh, the
people
best
would,
kind.
yeah, people would trust me or take a chance on me and then the word would spread and that's how it happened. I think it was part luck, part, you know, boldness on my part and the fact that I was an early adopter in an industry that
Mhm.
was necessary and that
Mhm.
people wanted. So all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, you hear life coaches and health coaches everywhere now.
Mhm.
And before then, you might have to go to a counselor or a therapist. And it was traditional talk therapy. You'd be talking to your
Mhm.
eyes are blue. And after 8 weeks, it's like, can you give me something? Tired of telling my story. Can you give me something?
Yeah, or
So, talk
not actually feeling better. I might be feeling more
exactly.
neutral or more validated or understood. But therapy is really, for many of us, it's about getting to a neutral place from a place of crisis or sadness, or, it's not really, their specialty is not human potential or thriving.
Mhm.
Their specialty is helping clear out and having people be understood and really giving language to the trauma and deep understanding of like where you've been in your past and your parents and all of this. And there's such value in that. And
Mhm.
also, there's sometimes a point of diminishing returns. Sometimes we outgrow our therapists, but we're afraid to call it because of the bond. So, yeah, the coaching industry, when it's done well, and also the self-development industry should really be the study of getting people what's called north of neutral. So instead of getting people from a place of sickness, crisis to more stable and neutrality, getting the people who are kind of in a meh place up here going like, I can't wait to fucking wake up in the
Yes.
morning. Like
Oh,
that's what I specialize in. So
uh,
that's what we're doing over here.
I love that because I've been in the space lately, especially as the winter set in. It's like waking up and being like, just a lot of people wake up bringing yesterday's past into it. As soon as they open their eyes, they're reliving everything
Oh
without getting
god.
out of bed with the
To look
possibility.
forward to. It's heavy. Everything feels hard. Like, yeah. I mean, it's a really heavy, scary place to be in sometimes when
Mhm.
waking up doesn't feel exciting or even pleasurable or like something some people want to do.
Yes, and we've got this one life we can wake up and like anything is possible and be excited about. We're in this body for this short period of time. What can I do today? What's next? What miracles can happen?
Mm,
And literally, I just read something the other day. You have literally probably 80 summers if you're lucky, 80 falls, 80 springs. So don't put
mhm,
off things that are going to bring you joy in your life. Don't put them off or take the china out, use it today because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And that's the whole start is in the morning is waking up and setting the tone for the day and being excited instead of dreading. But I know a lot of people are working jobs they do not like that are
mhm,
sucking their soul out of their bodies
mhm,
and they're not feeling a sense of purpose. And that's what we talk about a lot now is finding something through in your heart. What lights you up? What is your soul here to do? What needs to be expressed through you? And like finding a way to bring it out into the world.
mhm, mhm.
And I know a lot of your, what you talk about is relationship context, which is powerful phrase. How do you define that? And where do these unspoken agreements usually begin without us even realizing it?
Sure. So in this book, I did such a large chunk about relationships because relationships is one of the main areas that either gives us life and energy or it sucks our life force and energy. And understanding relational dynamics and becoming really educated in this area is a game changer. Game changer. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, that's its own whole thing, which we can totally talk about, but relationships in general, just like how to weave things with other people, how to set boundaries. So, relationships is, gosh, it's such a huge topic. And this concept of contracts and unspoken contracts is the concept that anytime we're in a pattern with someone, we could say, use friendship, for example. You have a friend, the relational pattern is you make a plan and she cancels last minute and you go, "Oh, it's fine. Sorry, like I'm feeling a little sluggish, so I'm not going to make it. Oh, it's fine." And she does that maybe 50 to 70% of the time.
Mm.
Maybe she's been doing this for years and you may have accepted, you know, Sandra's a flake. And if she says she's coming, there's like a 50% chance or less that she's coming. So your relational contract with Sandra is that she gets to be a flake and remain in relationship with you. So, whatever you're doing with other people where there's a repeated pattern over time, that becomes an unspoken contract that we're not even aware of. You're like, I didn't sign that contract. I'm like, well, you kind of did every time you didn't address it and say, hey, I've noticed that there's this theme of us making plans and then something else being the priority, or maybe, you don't feel well or you don't feel like coming. I've noticed that. And I just want to let you know that when we put plans in the calendar, I hold them sacred and I say no to other things. And if I'm going to put something in my calendar with you and hold that date, I need you to either like come and make it most of the time and really hold it sacred, or I'm not going to be able to make one-on-one plans with you anymore. I would need to just invite you to group things or invite you along to something I'm doing anyway so that there's not such an impact on my evening when you don't come.
Mm,
So you would have just said, "This relational contract doesn't work
yep.
for me. This is a no. Here are our options to move forward. You can either do this, which is keep the commitment, or we can do this, which is not make plans one on one, or third option, keep going in this unspoken relational contract because it doesn't bother you that much, or you're not taking it on." Like it's owning that we are enabling and a part of these agreements
Hmm.
and that we're at choice at all times in our dynamics with other people. Something is not being done to us. Like when we're
We're
participating
allowing it.
on a on an ongoing way.
Yep. Not necessarily just the victim. And it's so hard a lot of times for somebody to, especially as women, being the nice girls and not wanting to hurt people's feelings, is to exact our boundaries, to have our boundaries and say it in such a nice way like you did, where we're so afraid how the other person's going to react that we sacrifice ourselves in the process. Why do you think so many women ignore those signals that a contract needs to be updated until they're burnt out or resentful?
Um, I think there can be a lack of willingness to confront. And what I've noticed in not just female friendships, men do this as well, but when there hasn't been enough practice and training around confrontation being positive and proactive, if you're like, oh gosh, if I bring this up, it's going to be a fight. In my maybe like the way that you grew up that was walking on eggshells, or maybe it was if you said anything that pushed back, there was an explosion, or maybe that's just not how you weren't encouraged to speak up ever, right? So that might be someone's situation. So if they don't train their nervous system that having uncomfortable conversations is one, safe, and two, worth it, they'll just avoid and avoid and avoid. And eventually, probably they just won't be able to stand it anymore. They'll cut that person off and the
Hmm.
person won't even know what they did wrong. And they'll be
Hmm.
like, whoa, like that was my best friend and she doesn't even talk to me anymore. Another person's like, she knows what she did. She canceled and they're like, oh, was that not cool? Why didn't you tell me?
Hmm.
Like, so the level of confrontation, proactive confrontation that we're willing to have really equals the level of intimacy that we're going to have with other people.
Hmm.
And this notion that everything should be perfect we or it ends because it's not perfect. It ends because we're tolerating, tolerating, tolerating. It's just outdated. And I would propose that we can all do better.
Hmm. And it's so much better for somebody to say somebody keeps canceled plans and you're over it, to have that conversation instead of I've had people, friends that have harbored all this resentment underneath for something that I didn't even know I was aware. I'm not chronically late. I don't cancel, but whatever it was, whatever the issue was, like, underneath the surface, and then it comes out, it's like, "Why didn't you talk about this at the beginning? Why didn't you talk about it? No, I don't want you to carry this around. We need to talk this over."
Here's a question for you, Nancy. And the answer will seem obvious, but really, would you rather someone swallow that resentment or talk shit about you behind your back or say to your face, hey, I love you. You're doing something that's not working for me. Can we talk about it?
Yes.
Like, which one would you prefer?
1,000%.
Right. Me
It's the
too.
worst. Somebody making, like, a case against you and you have no idea,
Right.
not aware.
Okay. No, I have one person that's like that. I have many amazing relationships, but once in I would say like 2% of the people I know have a massive problem with me.
Mhm,
And have they told me why? No, 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 no. It's just an end of the contact. And I'm like, wow,
mhm,
it didn't have to go like that. It
mhm,
could have been, there could have been repair, or it could have at least been like a civil, like parting of ways. But that requires uncomfortable conversations,
mhm.
which means bravery and a certain level of skill set around that.
And a lot of times it has nothing to do with you, it's how they're
They're
feeling
triggered.
inside themselves, yes.
They're triggered, taking meaning from a sideways look or a certain
Mhm.
comment or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we have Yeah, it's and then even having those conversations, it's hard sometimes because the other person just takes stuff the wrong way or doesn't come out the right way, but I think coming in like, "I love you, but I've been noticing these things," and I love the way that you said it, I mean, it makes total sense the way you say it. I know I've
It's
stuck
not
my foot in.
that hard. It just requires bravery.
Mhm,
You could even be like, hey, I don't even know how to have this conversation. I'm not an expert in this, but something's feeling a little off. And like, I love you enough to like, or I care about you enough to clear the air and bring it up.
mhm,
Can we have a real talk?
mhm.
99% of people will be like, yes.
Yes, please. Yeah. What are the top 3 signs that relationship contract is outdated? And what are the terms we're living under that don't match who we are now?
Mm-hmm. So I would say the top ways to recognize that a relational contract has expired or needs updating is resentment, some sort of eye rolling that's coming from
Mm,
you, that's either you can see it from the outside or it's internal where you're just like, here we go again. Here we go again. Sandra canceled. Here we go again. I picked up the check, like, and this person went to the bathroom when the check came, or here we go again. There's a half truth there. Whatever it is, the resentment that you can feel in your body, the internal or external eye roll, and that hardening and almost like that toleration, the consistent disappointment, that tells me that there's a conversation waiting to happen. And if you value that relationship, which you probably do, have it. Those
mhm,
few brave moments will enable you to deepen the intimacy. The possibility is you could deepen the intimacy with that person and you may even get the result that you're looking for. You may not, but at least you'll be honest. And that also creates more freedom and spaciousness in your system when you speak your truth in a kind way.
mhm.
Really,
Yeah.
there's a medicine in that for
Yes.
sure.
Yes. Yes, and it's a learned thing. Some people seem like they come into it and it's just a natural thing for them, but I think most of us have come into it where we've tried to have these conversations before and it's blown up in our faces and that triggers fear into starting a new conversation.
Well, I would say the reason why a conversation like this would blow up would be a few different reasons. One would be timing. So if the person who's feeling like they want to talk talks when they're triggered and there's a harsh startup, and if it's like, you're always late
Mhm.
instead of like from a neutral moment
Mm.
where you not
Neutral.
go, hey, something's off. I care about you. Can we discuss from a neutral state? If there's not a harsh startup, that will account for like so much of the
Mhm.
success of the conversation. But once in a while, somebody's just a ratchet hothead and they're going to fly off the handle if you challenge them in any way. And I would say if you don't want to be in an intimate relationship, friendship, romantic, or otherwise with somebody who is quite a hothead, then you may need to distance from that person. Or you may need to express to them, like, hey, sometimes I feel like I want to express myself because I want to stay close to you and I want to tell you like where I'm at and how I'm feeling. I don't feel like I can because I feel like you're going to go off on me. Can we do this differently? Or like
Mhm.
if I have something that I need to say, like, should I write it in an email? Or you could just cut him out of your life and if it's not that close of a friend or if it's something familial relationship or someone you need to keep, walking on eggshells of somebody that's going to blow up on you
Yeah.
might just it might have expired. That might need to be a relational contract that you have with yourself, that I don't go that deep with people who are unkind to me when I express myself. That might be
Mhm.
done for you. And I support that.
Mhm. Or somebody like in an intimate relationship just looking for a way out and bring up your needs. I've done this before where I brought up my own needs and trying to talk to have a conversation around some things. Oh, well, I guess we're just not getting along. This doesn't seem to be working. And they pull, no, 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 not letting them pull away. Like trying to keep them here. And the
You
eggshells is the
speaking
worst
from
place to do.
speaking from experience, it sounds like maybe?
Yes, that was one of my experiences, yeah. And I've done that
Mhm.
before in the past. I mean, I don't think I would do that now, but I think a lot of people have tried to have these conversations, and then the person you can feel them trying to walk away, and then, "No,"
Were
and then we
you
sacrifice ourselves.
Were you the person trying to get your needs met?
Yes,
Oh gosh.
yes.
Ooh, so that maybe talking about your needs has created a little bit of a trauma response
Oh, yeah.
if mhm. Well, I would say that a partner who is healthy,
We'll talk about things.
secure, and invested in the relationship, if you do a start to the conversation in the way that I'm suggesting, which is I care about this enough to bring something up to you. I'm having a hard time with something. Can we talk about this? They're going to be like, yeah, babe, what's up?
Mhm.
They're not going to be like, oh, I guess it's over. Like that's goodbye. That's a very avoidant and or uninvested partner that needs to
Yes.
go. But that's a very painful way for that to happen.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, it was a long time ago. It's a
Good,
long time
good.
ago.
Bye.
Yes. I
Bye.
don't think that would happen now. Yeah. Yes. So having these conversations are so important. And you have an empowered conversation cheat sheet. What are the core steps and why do they help a request actually land instead of triggering a defensiveness?
Well, we've already been actually going into this before the cheat sheet. So I
Hmm.
love this because we're already speaking about it. So the empowered conversation cheat sheet is a few different steps. And this is inspired by the work of Allison Armstrong.
Hmm.
She's amazing. I recommend looking her up. She does such good work on men and women and the dynamics that really create peace between the sexes. And I'm not going to go step by step of what her work is, but this is a cheat sheet on what I've seen work. So a big part of it is making sure I'm going to be speaking about like man woman relationships, assuming that the woman is bringing up the conversation for context. So it's making sure that he is actually in a place where he has the capacity to talk. So that's a big part of it, is saying, like, not ever we need to talk, but like, hey, baby, I want to do like a check in with you. I wanted to see, like, do you have space? I know you just got off of work. Like, is this the right time or should we make a time? And let him say whether he has the capacity in that moment or not, instead of springing something when somebody might be hungry, tired, exhausted, no bandwidth. And then it's sharing the situation. So let's say it's someone who's asking for a date night. Like, I've noticed that when we first I'm going to play it out for you. I've noticed that when we first got together, we were having a date night like twice a week. And now life has just kind of happened and we haven't had a date night in like 2 months. And I realize ownership. So you say the situation, and there's ownership. I realize I haven't set one up either. So that's my part in it. Like, you haven't set one up, I haven't set one up, and I miss them. Then it's saying what the proposal is. So I would really love to go back to our date nights and maybe have one like once every 2 weeks. And this is what this would look like. It would look like, 3 hours once every 2 weeks, putting it on our calendars. It's not going to look like something big, elaborate. It doesn't have to be every Friday, but I do feel like I need twice a month. So it's saying what it looks like, also what it doesn't look like. Then asking, like, what do you think? Shutting up, not interrupting, letting him fully speak. What does he think? We're going to assume that he agrees to this. He might say, I can't do once every 2 weeks. Let's do once every 3 weeks. Like, my work is just I'm getting my doctorate right now, or like, this is the craziest time of my work cycle. I just can't swing that. Let him say what he needs. You guys come to the term of like what works, and then ask him, final question, do not skip. Is there anything you need from me in order to make this happen? Well, yeah, we need to make sure that we have the regular babysitter, or I need a calendar invite from you. So it's just regularly in my calendar. So you're just setting him up for success every step of the way so that you can have your desire and your need met. And sometimes this is all outlined in my book because I know I said it quite fast. We were like, what was that? This and so much more is outlined in the empowered romance chapter of the book. So many practical tools there about how to get your needs met. And sometimes when I say things like this to women, they're like, "Ugh, that's so many steps. Like, ugh." I'm like, listen, it is. And also, it's effective. Like, do you want change or do you not want change? Like, how bad do you want the change? Is the drudgery of the 6 steps worth it to actually get a completely different result than if you go, you never take me on dates anymore.
Yeah.
I want to go out more. You never do that anymore. When we first got together, you always took me out. Now you never take me out. Guess what? You're not going to get date nights. You're not. You might get one, but it's not going to be set up for success as a relational contract that he's bought into and he feels supported in.
Mhm.
Thing that I think I skipped, which I'd like to add, is to make sure he knows what it provides for you. So when you state the desire, so I really want the date nights once every 2 weeks. What this would provide for me would be like something to look forward to for us, something to buy lingerie for, do my hair, try new places, something to get excited about. And it would also just make me feel like closer to you. And I want that. So it's enrolling the other person in your vision, what it provides. So it's not just falling as an empty next thing to do because we're
Mhm.
all overwhelmed with our to-do lists.
I love all that. It just rolls off your tongue and it just makes it so easy. I'd be recording you. I'd be writing everything down,
Practice,
taking notes.
practice, practice,
Yes.
practice, practice. And something that Allison said, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous the first time she said it, was like, if you need to note cards to the
Mhm.
conversation, bring note cards. And I was like, that's ridiculous. But now I'm like, you know what? You could say, like, I've got Post-its here. You could say, okay, bear with me. This conversation is really sacred and important to me, and I want to make sure that I don't forget any steps. So I have a couple notes here, and I'm going to read them. Cute, but like not like point one, but you can really, I hate to use the words get away with, but let's say sweetness and softness is very effective. So, whatever you're proposing, if it's not militant or hard or seems so like structured, then the guy is going to soften and be like, sure, have your notes. Who cares? You're
Mhm.
adorable. Come on.
Mhm.
What do you need?
Mhm. 'Cause you're doing it in a non-confronting way, and it's cute and adorable and feminine, like approaching it as a feminine woman instead of and I think a lot of women are afraid to be vulnerable, and that's why they come at 'em like, you, and you're not taking me on dates anymore. And this is how you're making me feel instead of approaching it from a neutral space, like you said.
Mhm.
And I know that you teach the difference between needs, desires, and preferences. How does sorting these out ahead of time completely change the tone of a conversation?
Mhm. Well, the needs, the desires, and the preferences, let's just take a moment to define them. Okay. So, a preference is I prefer that my man wears blue because it brings out his eyes. I prefer that he doesn't wear those ratty old sneakers. I prefer, that it's a light surface level. I like this better than I like that, but it doesn't really matter, right? Preference.
Mhm,
A desire is something that lights you up, the idea of it. It's like, "Ooh, that lights me up. That brings me energy. That makes me feel alive. I like that. That's about pleasure. That's about an add-on. That's about an experience I wanna have." And a need is if I don't get this in an ongoing way, I am not going to be able to stay in relationship, okay?
mhm,
So those are very, very different. But when a woman hasn't had her needs met for a while, it can all start to feel like a need. All of this can get very jumbled. It's like, and I told him I liked it when he wears blue and he still doesn't wear blue despite me. I need him to wear blue and I need him to tell me the truth. And I'm like, no, no, those aren't the same. You know, like we need to sort these out and really handle first the things that feel dishonoring to yourself if you don't have them. The needs must be in place before we really go after the desires and the preferences. So, sorting that really helps point and shoot where to go.
mhm,
So, if somebody's in a state of relational crisis, let's say, I would say first thing is get some outside support, get a fabulous therapist or a very well educated, seasoned coach. There are a few.
mhm,
It's not everyone you see on
mhm,
Instagram. There is
mhm,
a handful of well seasoned, really well trained coaches that are still available privately. So that or a couples therapist that has excellent training. So I would say get an outside perspective and also really maybe write down everything that's an issue about the relationship. Like, he does this, he's always 10 minutes late, he doesn't listen. When I ask him a question or when I tell him how I'm feeling, he's on his phone, he doesn't look at me, we're not having sex. Like, there's disrespect. Like, get it all out on paper and then sort it out into needs, preferences, and desires. And it's not all needs. It's not.
mhm,
So make sure that the things that you actually need in order to stay in relationship, that's where you go first. And even just paring down the list can feel a little lighter.
mhm,
It might feel heavier also because it might be like, oh gosh, I'm looking at this list and there's 10 things that I'm not getting. This might just be the wrong relationship,
mhm,
or it might not be. But it gives a bit of a sorting process and a map of where to prioritize.
mhm. 'Cause then you're not coming at 'em with a huge laundry list, and it does separate what is, like, what you need right now from what you think that you need, so it's not as heavy coming on, but I
Mhm.
know that you have a willing and able lens. How does this help someone decide whether a relationship can reset or whether it's time to release the contract altogether?
This is so nuanced. And what I'll say is, I see some people leave relationships too soon. And I see it doesn't usually go like that. I see many, many people beat a dead horse for years. And this is such a personal choice. The reality is, no one can tell you when a relationship is over. You have to be fully done and ready to release it in your own being and heart. And sometimes we know a relationship is wrong, but we're still unwilling to release it for a period of time. That's such a personal journey. and no one can tell you when to be done. Not me, not the best therapist on the planet, not even, I mean, God can tell you, but that still doesn't mean that you're gonna listen. Like, so I just really honor that when people ask
Mhm.
me that question. They're like, "When do you know if it's just done?" I'm like, "Well, it's very, very personal when you're gonna be ready to walk."
Mhm.
Um, and one of the big things I see, this is gonna sound however it sounds, but it's also true. Get your finances right. You know, like women who have their finances right feel a lot more empowered about leaving when they need to leave.
Mhm.
So that I would say that's one of the biggest empowerment pieces. So much easier said than done, but like when the finances are feel secure, and independent, then it's going to make the love choices more clear and less intertwined with that, with basic survival. But for someone who's in a marriage with children, that's a completely different set of criteria than somebody who's been dating somebody for 6 months and they don't have anything that's locked up together. Know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, like marriage with children, it's a lot less about your whims and more about like how do we make this work and truly being certain and really trying as much as you can. But, 6 months in, if you're not getting your needs met and it's feeling like constant frustration, like I would say be fast to fire, slow to hire, fast to fire. Some of the best relationship advice I ever got was from a Kabbalah teacher in New York, Michael Moskowitz. And he said, with dating and women, slow to hire, fast to fire. Like, let
Mhm.
him earn your attention, let him earn your love, your respect over time. And if you're not getting your needs met, don't belabor it on and on. Just believe him that that's what he can provide and it's not meeting your needs and get out of there.
Mhm.
Move on to somebody who can.
Yeah, it's like the old adage, when he's telling you who he is, believe him.
Men and
Yeah.
women, believe
Yes.
that.
Yes. So, aside from financial, for somebody, I know that you said that get your finances in order because that's going to keep you in a wrong relationship from hanging on to the relationship way longer than you need to. For somebody listening who knows they're exhausted by an unspoken agreement relationship but feels scared to address it, where is the gentlest starting point? I know it's slow to hire, fast to fire, and having your finances in order. Is there another gentle way that they can start pulling themselves out of the relationship?
So, just so I'm clear, are you asking? I don't think I'm fully clear on the question.
So for somebody that's exhausted by this relationship and this contract they have with this person, but they're so afraid to address it and they're just not acknowledging that they're ready to get out of this relationship and they
Mhm.
want to get out of this relationship, where is the gentlest starting point to give themselves the courage to have this conversation and to leave it? If
Sure.
they yeah.
So, my first advice would be start rebuilding your confidence and self worth outside of the relationship.
Mhm.
So, whatever you've done that's abandoned who you used to be, reignite that. Like when I see a woman who's scared to leave, I know that it's either survival related, like she's dependent on the lifestyle, or she's dependent in some sort of survival capacity, or there's been some self abandonment on her part if she's afraid to be without him. So I would say start building the self worth and confidence outside the relationship and concentrate on those activities first. So it's like whatever you used to do that you're not doing. Did you used to go to church by yourself? Did that make you feel amazing? Did you used to go to girls' nights? Did you used to dance, but you stopped dancing because he doesn't like to dance? Whatever makes you feel like your most sovereign, empowered, best self, build that back up. If you need to start investing or get out of debt, or like on a practical level, like start building whatever you need to do to feel like a sovereign, sacred, powerful being before trying to really do that, because I'm hearing fear and I would want to address the fear before asking
Mhm.
her to take steps from untethering, because when somebody goes before they're ready, usually they'll go back,
Mhm.
or, it's like, so I'd say build the empowerment on your own before starting the untethering. That's where I would really guide her.
Mhm. Because then they begin loving themselves more than they love a relationship that has run its course.
Mhm.
And they have a life outside of this that they're excited about
Yeah.
nurturing. And I know that we have to start wrapping this up. I know you have a hard out at soon. Where can listeners learn more about your book, your work, and the resources that you mentioned today?
Thank you for asking.
Mhm.
So you can go to madefromagicbook.com, and if you put in your email, yeah, that's it. So if you put in your email, I will send you the first chapter for free. And even if you just got the first chapter and absorbed the nutrients in that, you're going to be better off. You're going to feel more hopeful. The first chapter is all about how to resuscitate your hope. If you know you want this book, which you probably do, go to Amazon and get it. It's Made for Magic by Elizabeth Webb. Online, I'm positively Elizabeth everywhere. So that's Instagram, that's my website. And I have so many resources that are at accessible price points, because I believe this work should be accessible.
Mm.
So the book is
I love
$11.11.
that.
That's a duh.
Oh,
It
1111.
Yeah, it's 11.
Sacred number.
Mhm, mhm. And then, I have my Freedom Method course. That's $300 for the people that wanna go deeper and really explore the voice of their soul and their own soul
Mhm.
knowing. That's a very powerful course. And then I have free resources like
Mhm.
my soul meditation that some people listen to every day. That's free. It's on my website. And I send out love beams once every 2 weeks or so. And that's all like intuitive power practices and happiness hacks. So feel free to be in my world and get those resources for yourself.
Mhm.
You're just in better shape.
I love that. Beautiful. This has been such a wonderful conversation. I know you have to go. I just have one quick question before you go. What's
Yeah.
one piece of wisdom you hope every woman walks away with after hearing this conversation?
Oh, what a beautiful question. I would say start choosing yourself in
Mhm.
in the little ways and in the big ways, and start reclaiming your time little by little. Audit that calendar and make a calendar that serves you, serves your joy, and serves your soul first. Not that those pieces get the scraps, that the things that you hold sacred actually get your sacred attention, and everything else comes second.
Mm,
So
mhm.
claim your choices for yourself, reclaim your time, baby step by baby step. And I have many resources in the book about exactly how to do that.
Wonderful. Reclaim your choices, reclaim your time. And everybody go pick up this book, Made for Magic. Thank you, Elizabeth, so much for coming on the Awaken Heart podcast. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.